If you think your property taxes are too high, perhaps consider a property tax appeal. And in today's video, we have the top things you should know. Number 1, how are property taxes calculated? Property taxes are ad valorem. This means they are based on the property's value. Now, every jurisdiction is a little bit different, but typically you multiply your property's assessed value by your county or city's tax rate. And one note here, the assessed value is usually some percentage of your property's determined market value. Number 2, what is the revenue from property taxes used for? Well, property taxes do fund a number of vital community services, such as schools, firefighters, and recreational resources. Number 3, what are some tips to lower your tax bill? The very first step is to understand how your property taxes are calculated. You can go to your local assessor and determine how they arrived at your property's assessed value and what your jurisdiction's tax rate is. You can also, at this point, ask your assessor for your property's tax card. The tax card lists out all the characteristics of your property and shows you to some degree how the assessor arrived at the valuation of your home or land. Another key tip here is to understand that there are assessment cycles. Most jurisdictions do not reassess your property every year, although some do. So know when they plan to reassess your property and don't plan any renovations right before that period. Another lesser-known tip is that some jurisdictions actually have their assessor come out and walk your property or your home. You may be tempted to deny access to the assessor, but this is a bad idea. When you do this, the assessor has to make assumptions about the interior of the home, and those assumptions are likely going to boost your property's assessed value. So it makes more sense to let them walk around and get a fair evaluation. And finally, many states and localities have tax exemptions for certain populations, like low-income homeowners, veterans, and elderly homeowners. So check if any of these apply to you. And number 4, if all else fails and you still think your property taxes are too high, you can file a property tax appeal. And here's how to do it. Again, every jurisdiction is different. But the very first thing you need to do is understand the deadline. You can't file a tax appeal whenever you would like. It's usually within a set window after you receive a reassessment. So, as soon as you receive a new assessment, understand how long you have to file your appeal. Then, look into the costs associated with an appeal. Also, get a third-party assessment. And once you've decided you want to move forward, contact your assessor's office to understand the process. And start the appeals process, which usually involves a bunch of paperwork. Now, when making your case for the appeal, be sure to stick to the facts. The assessor doesn't care if you want to lower your property taxes because you can't afford them, or because you simply think property taxes are unfair. What the assessor wants to know is that you have proof that your assessed value is too high compared to market comps of other similar homes. So make sure you have a rock-solid fact-based case as to why they have over-evaluated your property. So that covers the basics of a property tax appeal. And with that, let's look at a quick case study. Now, I'm sure many of you are watching this video because you think your property taxes are too high. Death and taxes, right? Yet, of course, there is another side to the coin. I will say, on the one hand, as a homeowner, I'm not particularly thrilled about property taxes. And having worked in affordable housing, I know that, just as with rents, when property taxes rise, they can push homeowners out of their homes. But property taxes also pay for key community assets, like schools, roads, and fire departments. Now, we can argue about how these services should best be paid for, but most of us enjoy having them. Which is why, when I think about property tax appeals, especially as they apply to commercial buildings, I become a little more skeptical. Just consider the case of the dark store theory. On a Wednesday afternoon, the Walmart in Thompson, Maine is packed. But you would not know this by looking at the store's tax appeal. According to Walmart's lawyers, the store's assessed value should be equivalent to that of a nearby shuttered warehouse. And they are not the only Walmart making this case. The dark store theory is a tax theory which claims that open stores should be taxed at an equivalent rate as closed ones. Big box retailers argue that stores are specifically designed for their occupants and therefore obsolete once a retailer leaves. Thus, the assessed value of a store should not be based on its current income, but its potential price if sold empty. This, while cities often spend millions on infrastructure improvements to bring in big box stores with their touted increase in jobs and tax revenue. In the case of the Thomaston site, the city spent $3 million to install a new sewer extension to the store. Yet shortly after it opened, Walmart's attorneys filed an appeal to lower its assessed value by half. They then filed similar appeals every year since. And this seems a little fishy to me. But who is right in the end? Well, in the legal sense, it's up to the courts. But in the moral one, it's up to us. What is the right balance between burden and duty? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? You're going to love our Gokce Land Due Diligence program. We'll make you a land due diligence expert in just 7 days. Check it out at gokcecapital.com/glad. And while you're at our website, don't forget to explore our $1 down listings at gokcecapital.com/listings. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.